Today we are honored to welcome back to the show Dr. Kevin Smith. He is a functional medicine practitioner, and he helps many people with a variety of conditions, right? Because it's all about getting the root of the issue. And there's so many different things that come into that, right? We can talk about holistic medicine and everything that goes into that. But ultimately, today we're going to walk away with practical takeaways to optimize our overall wellness and learn so much about our bodies. Because I feel like we tend to fear what we don't understand, right? And when we start to learn about our bodies and how we can amplify them, that's where we actually learn wisdom for real, and we apply that. So I'm very excited to have him on. How are you doing today, man?
Anthony, it's great to be back.
Absolutely. So if people haven't heard our last show, I would like to hear your story and how you got into functional medicine and how you're helping people today, man.
Okay, so my base degree is I'm a doctor of chiropractic, and I started off in practice in 2001. And I started my clinic, and I was treating things that you normally associate going to a chiropractor for, like back pain, neck pain, automobile accidents, sports injuries, things like that, like all musculoskeletal stuff. And eventually people were coming in with weird, mysterious problems that I could not figure out and I couldn't treat. These are things like high blood pressure or thyroid disease or gut problems. And I was very curious about what was going on and how to fix them. And so I started to attend seminars and read books and try to educate myself as best as I possibly could about these types of problems. And eventually that led to going to attend more seminars, this time on lab testing and functional blood chemistry analysis and autoimmune problems. And eventually that led to getting into functional medicine. And right now, I can reach into both worlds. I can reach into the musculoskeletal world and the metabolic world, depending on what the problem is, and apply the right approach to the problem. So if the person has a metabolic issue like thyroid disease or high blood pressure or whatever, we can work on that from that angle. And if they have a musculoskeletal problem or a neurological problem, then I would be able to apply chiropractic kind of stuff for physical therapy or functional neurology for that.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. There's so much that goes into functional medicine, holistic wellness, right? So there's so many different things, and being able to, uncover all the stones, right? Because we tend to focus on some things, but we don't really focus on everything, right? So that's kind of what it seems like in terms of holistic wellness.
Yeah, that's correct. There's no one size fits all when it comes to health. Some people need more attention paid towards nutritional deficiencies. Some people need more attention towards detoxification or helping with their integrating nutrients into their system that way. So I take the patients where they are, and I bend myself around their needs. I don't bend their needs around my approach, which is what frustrates a lot of people. They think there's like a one-size-fits-all approach, and they get the same drugs that the neighbor got when they visit the doctor.
Yeah, got it. That makes sense. Because it's like, I feel like a great practitioner would do that, right? Because we just tend to focus on, what we want to do for people instead of like what people actually need, right? And when we actually listen and then take into account what their state of health is and all these things, so we can actually personalize that approach, which is exactly what people need.
A good practitioner should do that. They don't always accomplish that. And what complicates the matter is that a lot of the information, I should say, the treatment plan that is given to people is dictated to by the insurance industry. So the insurance industry, your listeners should really understand this. They don't care about you. They don't care about your health. They only care about their shareholders. And so the goal of an insurance company is to profiteer as much as possible by charging you a lot of money for your premiums. And then when it comes to your actual health, they don't want to pay for anything. And that's why medical doctors are forced to order the minimum amount of tests, not the amount that's actually required for the job.
Yeah, 100%. Why is it that you think some people take this, one size fits all approach to medicine? Like, we just tend to focus on some things, but we tend to not understand everything is connected within the body.
There's a lot of things that are going on that contribute to this. I don't think it's one thing. I think it's a couple. Number one, we live in a drug culture, and the drugs are constantly being shoved down our throats. We're constantly hearing drug ads on TV. We're constantly hearing them on the radio or newspapers. And you ever hear, talk to your doctor to see if blankety blank drug is right for you? And those type of messages, that's just enforcing the theory that you want to try to use a drug for every problem that's out there. And sometimes drugs are appropriate, but sometimes it's not the most appropriate approach to healthcare. And the second thing is that we as Americans, we want instant gratification. We want a quick fix for everything. And sometimes you can accomplish that. Sometimes health doesn't exactly work like that. Like, if you ever go to the gym to get physically fit, you know that you have to follow the laws of exercise physiology, and you have to go a couple times a week for a long period of time until you start to get stronger, lose weight, get more flexible, just get more fit. You can't go one time and expect to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, I tried that; it doesn't work, right? The next thing is that we live in an insurance-driven healthcare culture. One of the first things that comes out of some people's mouths when they meet me is, "Do you take my insurance?" And not, can you help me? Can you correct my problem? It's who's ultimately responsible for paying for the bill. And I look at them like, I don't know what the problem is yet, so I can't determine what we need to do to help you and what it's going to cost. It's like calling the grocery store and saying, how much are groceries? I don't know. It depends on what you're going to eat. If you're going to have steak and scallops, that's going to be a different bill than if you're going to make casseroles all week.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. We live in this drug first culture, as you mentioned, right? We just kind of taught that if we have a problem, that must mean we need a pill, right? As opposed to,
Right.
What is the cause of this? What is my lifestyle contributing to it, right? So just this cultural mentality, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I think that more so than just a problem, if you have a symptom, an active symptom, because you can have a problem and have no symptoms. Like, for example, you can't feel cancer cells forming in your body. You can't feel your vessels filling up with plaque. You can't feel tooth decay. You can't feel early onset liver disease or early onset arthritis. It's only after the problem has been around for a long period of time that you develop a symptom. And by then, it's largely too late to do much about it at all. That's why prevention and being very proactive with your health makes a lot of sense to a lot of people.
Yeah, 100%. And to my understanding, America's really the only country that allows drug ads, right? I believe there's another one, but this is just something we're so used to, but it's not really a worldwide thing, right? It's like we just see it all the time. So this must mean what we should do, but it's totally, it's kind of inappropriate in a sense. It's like, to ask your doctor for this. It's very strange.
So in 1997, the FDA relaxed the rules and allowed direct-to-consumer marketing. So that ushered in the advent of the drug ads. And currently it's the United States and New Zealand that are the only countries in the entire world that drug ads can be seen on TV. You're never going to see a drug ad in France or Germany or Great Britain or South America, any of the countries down there. It's only the United States and New Zealand. And it just so happens, coincidentally, that the United States and New Zealand have the highest cost per capita of any country in the world for healthcare.
Yeah, crazy, man. So when it comes to wellness, environmental toxins are a huge thing, right? Because there's so many different things. We talk about personal care. We talk about, things from off-gassing, furniture, whatever it is. There's so many different things. And a lot of us are carrying around a very heavy toxic burden within our bodies, right? So do you want to speak to environmental toxins and how that may be affecting us to certain sources?
So when it comes to toxic load, toxic burden, your body is a natural detoxifying agent. You have organs in your system that are designed to cleanse your body and to get rid of impurities, such as the liver or the kidneys. They're designed to filter the blood, or your lungs. Every time you breathe in oxygen. Every time you breathe out carbon dioxide. And your skin. So when you sweat, you're releasing toxins through your pores. But the problem occurs when you take in more toxins than your body has the capacity of expelling. And when that happens, you increase your toxic load. And that's the amount of toxins that your body naturally can keep in your system. Some of the signs or symptoms of toxicity include headaches, migraines, muscle aches, joint pain, poor sleep, problems with energy, feeling like you have low energy or you're just totally exhausted all the time. And that a lot of times that comes from environmental toxins. Sometimes it comes from things in your food or your water. And so I myself do a detox 4 times a year just to clean house, clean the system. And when it comes to toxins in your body, you have 2 different types. There's water soluble and there's fat soluble. Water soluble are very easily excreted out of your body. Out of the when you go to the bathroom, number 1 or number 2, you are getting rid of water soluble toxins out of your system. Fat soluble toxins, on the other hand, are more stubborn. They like to cling in the fat cells of your body, and they like to linger there. And so what a detox formula will do is it takes the fat soluble and transforms it into water soluble so the body can more easily excrete it. And that's the number one thing. But as far as the different type of environmental toxins, there's insecticides, there's pesticides, there's the stuff that they spray on the crops, there's artificial sweeteners, artificial colors, sugar substitutes in the food. There's all kinds of different things. There's organophosphates that are sprayed on the crops. And when you eat a piece of produce that was sprayed with an insecticide or an organophosphate or whatever, your body is going to ingest a portion of that insecticide or herbicide or whatever. And then you start to increase the toxic load. So it's not just air pollution, it could be in the food supply as well. Unless you are going to grow your own food and have complete control over every single aspect of the food supply, it's a major problem.
God, that makes sense. Thanks for sharing that. So it sounds like we're able to detoxify a lot of things, right? But we're not necessarily designed to take in all these toxins from the air, the water, whatever it is. There's so much, and so we have this, extreme toxic burden, and we have to do some extra things in order to actually take care of that properly.
That's correct. So what I suggest that we do first is to take a measurement so we can stay as objective as possible and see what kind of heavy metal toxins could be in the blood, such as mercury, cadmium, aluminum, arsenic, etc., and you can do that through a blood test or more recently a urine test, and they can take a measurement in a lab and show you exactly how bad the problem is, and then you know a little bit more about what you're working with. So you can't just look at somebody and say you have mercury poisoning or you have cadmium or something. You actually have to take a measurement so that we can get some objective data and find out what you're dealing with.
Got it. That makes sense. So what are some detox methods that would be beneficial for people that come to your mind? Like, are there some basic things? Are more, I guess, more in depth? Like, what's your take on that?
Well, the solution to pollution is dilution, first of all. So you want to make sure you're drinking a lot of water and flush your system out so that you have less of a chance of a toxic buildup inside your body. You want to make sure that you're using a water filtration system. I was educated by a plumber friend of mine. He's in my BNI group, and he was telling me that if you don't use a filter, then you are the filter, right? So
Exactly.
he's a big fan of whole house filtration systems. I mean, taking a shower or taking a bath or shaving your face, that's not the same thing as ingesting water and messing with your drinking water. So he recommends a full house filtration system so you can get rid of it. Secondly, in Pittsburgh, where I'm from, the utility company that's is in charge of cleaning your drinking water, they used to use chlorine, and now they're using another chemical called chloramine. And the difference is that this is cheaper. Everything is made based on economics, not based on what's the best for you.
100%. So when it comes to infections, this is another thing that's so common in people, right? There's so many different types of infections, and most people are probably dealing with them in one way or another. So do you want to speak to that, and probably parasites as well? I would like to talk about that. So what's your take on infections and what people are dealing with as a whole?
Okay, so your body has a natural defense system. It's supposed to be protecting you against infectious agents. Those could be viruses, bacteria, parasites, worms, things like that. And that's called the immune system. And the immune system is composed of white blood cells that travel around your body through the circulation and tag particles that should not be there that are infectious agents, and they take them out. And the problem occurs when your body's immune system is not able to keep up with the infectious agent load. What really bothers and worries me a lot are unresolved viral infections, such as Epstein-Barr virus, cytomegalovirus, herpes viruses, because those critters have the potential of disrupting your thyroid or have a problem with other areas of your body. And so that's one of the things that is what I call a trigger, something that can disrupt thyroid physiology or brain physiology or cause an increase in blood sugar, is if you have an infectious agent. One of the things that I do for that is I want to get a foundational lab series done to find out what's going on. And one of those things that's part of the foundational lab tests is a CBC, a complete blood count. So if your white blood cells are too high or too low, that's a sign that something is going on with the body's immune system. That's a problem. A long time ago, I learned that the body's white blood cell count is kind of like soldiers in an army. If the army is fighting a battle, you're going to lose soldiers. They're going to get killed. You're just natural attrition. So if the white blood cell count is low, that's the same thing as losing a lot of soldiers in a war. So a low white blood cell count could mean that you have a chronic illness. If the white blood cell count is too high, that's an indication of an acute problem, either chronic or acute. So depending on how it shows up on the lab test, you have to apply the right strategy for getting that in the right amount. You don't want to have too little, and you don't want it too high.
Awesome. I would imagine the microbiome plays a big role in that as well.
The microbiome is the ecology of bacteria that lives naturally in your gut. You have about 70 trillion cells in your body, and you have about 10 times more than that in terms of bacteria that lives in your gut. The microbiome plays a crucial role in your body's immune system function, your body's mental function in your brain, and a lot of other types of processes. So when it comes to the immune system, that's your body's defense system, that's about 70 to 80% of that is in the gut. And that is taking place in two areas of your gut. One is called the gut-acquired mucosal tissue, or the GALT, and the other one is the mucosa-acquired mucosal tissue, or the MALT. So the GALT and the MALT are the two components of your body's immune system. So if you want to have a healthy functioning immune system, you have to have a healthy functioning microbiome, and you have to have a healthy functioning gut.
Awesome. That makes sense. So when it comes to parasites specifically, is this something that is common? And is there something that people should do to deal with it? What's your take on that?
So parasites can exist in your food, they can exist in your water, your soil, literally everything. And so again, I'm a big fan of objective measurements. So typically what I do is I order a test called a GI map. And the GI map can measure any kind of parasite infections in the gut. So what it is, it's a stool test. You give a sample size of the size of about a Hershey's Kiss, and we send it to the lab, and we get a lab report based on your stool. So it can tell me a lot of stories about the healthy bacteria that lives in your gut, the unhealthy bacteria that lives in the gut, if you have a parasite or parasites, the amount of absorption that's going to go on, any kind of inflammation that's happening, like a ton of information. So that will really, really help us to nail down any kind of problem that could be related to your overall health. So the first thing is, you ever hear that phrase, measure twice, cut once? It kind of applies to your body too. You want to definitely take an objective measurement by doing a stool test to find out what's going on inside your body, what's going on inside your gut, so we can get people healthier.
Got it. Makes sense. And is there specific protocols that people should go, or is it kind of dependent on the situation?
It is situation specific. I don't like to throw out protocols or one size fits all type things, because it all depends on what you need. So one person may have a problem with absorption, and another person may have a problem with a tapeworm or a helminth or something like that. So it all depends on what's going on. So if you have gut specific problems, if you have poor absorption, or if you have bowel transit time problems involving diarrhea or constipation, or both, or problems absorbing macronutrients like proteins or fats, we have to figure out what's causing that in the first place. What's the root cause of the problem, so we can artfully apply a solution to that. There's different supplements that can help you, but they're all based on what you specifically need.
Yeah, that makes sense. Back to personalized approach, right?
Yeah, that's what functional medicine is all about. It's a personalized, patient-centered approach to healthcare, as opposed to the one-size-fits-all approach that people are so used to when they go visit a PCP. They don't realize that the PCP has about 12 drugs that they work with. And if what is going on with the person cannot be helped by one of those 12 drugs, then they ship them out to their buddy that's down the street that they play golf with that has a different 12 drugs. And you keep going down the path, down that way. So I'm not really a big fan of that. And the other thing that really is bothersome to me is by the time you even walk in the guy's office, your treatment plan has been predetermined, usually by an actuary that works for the insurance company that lives in another city and has never met you, has never done an exam on you, has never looked at your labs, has never read your x-rays or anything, but he's the one that's making all the clinical decisions for you, not the doctor. The doctor is his hands are tied behind his back because we live in an insurance driven marketplace. And as long as that's the case, you're going to get what you get.
100%. Very interesting. Now, peripheral neuropathy is another thing that you are experiencing and people kind of are going in their own lives. Can you describe what that is and perhaps a path forward as well?
Sure. So, peripheral neuropathy is damage or disease of the nerves that specifically exit the spine. So, you have two broad categories of your nervous system. You have the central nervous system, which is your brain and your spinal cord, which is itself is kind of like an extension cord for the brain. That's the central nervous system. And then you have the peripheral nervous system. Those are the nerves that go down your arms, go down your legs, wrap around your trunk, your cranial nerves. And so any time that there's damage or disease of the peripheral nerves, that's called peripheral neuropathy. And there's a predictable kaleidoscope of symptoms that people have when they have neuropathy. There's weakness, there's muscle weakness or muscle cramping, there's burning pain, there's numbness or tingling, there is cold hands or feet, there's circulation problems, and how this affects a lot of people is it affects their mobility. They have a hard time walking. They have a hard time maintaining their balance. They have to park their car close to the front of the store so that they can minimize the amount of walking that they have to do. It's extremely frustrating. And what is worse than that is that it's a degenerative, progressive problem. That means that once it starts, it's going to continue to get worse and worse and worse. So I've been treating neuropathy for 25 years. And what people have told me is that their problems are worse now than they were 5 years ago. So I said, okay, well, where do you think this is going to end up in 5 years from now if you don't get this problem corrected? And their options are either it's better or worse, or they're going to be in a wheelchair, or they're going to be in a nursing home, or they're going to be bedridden. So once you go down that pathway, your life is going to be worse, generally speaking, unless you do something about it. Now, the medical doctors, they look at this as a symptom. I look at it as a functional thing. So they give you drugs like Lyrica or gabapentin, Neurontin, which is the same thing as gabapentin, or Cymbalta. Those drugs don't actually fix the problem. When it comes to Lyrica or Cymbalta or gabapentin, or I should say Neurontin, those are actually classified as anti-seizure drugs. They're designed to correct epilepsy. So they're giving anti-seizure drugs to people that don't have epilepsy. And it's not doing anything to fix balance problems, numbness, tingling, circulation disorders, muscle cramping, any of that stuff. It's not going to help touch it whatsoever. But that's the standard of care that we live in. And there's a better way. My approach is a 92% effectiveness rate.
Wow. Yeah, those off-label uses, man. For the drugs, it's like, yeah, very interesting. So, What can people do, like if they're struggling with this? Is there some simple things, or I don't know, what is your take on that?
So when it comes to peripheral neuropathy, the goal for that would be number one, to stop the progress of the problem. Stop it, arrest it, freeze it, keep it from getting worse. If that's all I did, I will have done my job. But that's not where I'm what I want to do. I want to stop it, and I want to reverse it to the point where they have a better quality of life. I may not be able to turn them into a 22-year-old again, but anything that I give them is going to be better than what they had when they first walked in my door. So what I want to do is improve the circulation. I want to improve the signaling of the nerves as they go up into the brain for sensory and for motor function. And we do that through two different ways. One is mechanical stimulation, and the other one is electric stimulation. And at the same time, I want to try to improve their internal environment by having them eat better food, taking specific supplements, doing the before mentioned gut detox and liver detox, and use specific nutrients that nourish the peripheral nerves. And then there's also the option, if they are living around me, they can also do therapies that I offer inside my office. If they don't live near me, then I typically will prescribe certain home remedies and home therapies that they could do at home so they don't have to schlep all the way to Pittsburgh all the time.
Yeah, awesome, thank you. And adrenal dysfunction is another common thing, right? You talk about this as well. Can you describe what that is and some common misconceptions around it as well?
So the adrenal glands are small glands that sit right above your kidneys and your low back. They're shaped like a triangle, kind of like a Dorito, and their job is to send stress hormones to your brain. They secrete cortisol, they secrete epinephrine, norepinephrine, aldosterone, a lot of the steroid hormones, and a lot of the stress hormones. And they regulate your body's nervous system, specifically the autonomic nervous system, which regulates your fight or flight response. A lot of people have heard of fight or flight, but I'll give you an example. When the tiger is chasing you through the jungle and you need to save your life, it pumps blood to the extremities so you can run faster. It enlarges your pupils so you have more light passing into your eyes. So it can help you to run faster. It can give you strength. And it can also help you to, if you need to fight a perceived enemy, it can do that. However, once the emergency is over, once the threat to your life is gone, your body should come back to normal. It should come back to the non-emergent state. But for some people, they can no longer do that. They're always in a state of fight or flight. And when that happens, the adrenal glands can get burned out, what we often refer to as adrenal fatigue. And that can be measured, again, through some lab tests to find out exactly which stage you're in. There's a chemical that affects the brain called cortisol. And cortisol, if it's in abnormal amounts, it causes two things to happen. Number one is it causes belly fat production, and it causes brain fog. So if you walk into a room and then you can't remember why you walked in that room, that's a sure sign of too much cortisol being exerted in your body.
Yeah. So it sounds like stress and the vagus nerve is kind of involved in this as well.
Yes. So there's three different types of stress. There's physical stress, such as chronic pain. There's chemical stress that's caused by a food allergy or a chemical allergy, something that messes with your body chemistry. And there's psychological stress, such as too many deadlines or kids waking up in the middle of the night that are sick, and you have to be at work and perform your best the next day. and the body doesn't really differentiate between the three, so it takes it out a lot of in the same ways. So people that have adrenal fatigue, they feel chronically run down. They feel chronically exhausted. They feel like they always need another cup of coffee to perk them up. If you really want to understand how big of a deal that this is, look at a Starbucks at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and look at the line forming around the block. That's how many people have adrenal fatigue.
Yeah, it's a lot. So, if people are dealing with this, what would a path forward be, right? Because, again, there's like so many different things that go into this, and there's misconceptions as well. But like, what should people do as a simple strategy to move forward in their lives?
I always go back to the fundamentals. To understand the fundamentals of health, you have to understand the fundamentals of life. And nutrition, I think, has to play center stage. You have to make sure that you're eating real food and you're not poisoning yourself with artificial colors, artificial flavors, seed oils, too much sugar, too much wheat, things like that. You want to make sure that you're properly hydrating. Are you getting a sufficient amount of water every single day? Are you getting enough sleep? It's a very often overlooked but essential part of your overall wellness profile. The average person needs about 7 to 9 hours of restful, replenishing sleep. And if you're not getting that, either something's not right or you have too much blue light activity from staring at the screen on your phone too much, or whatever. Paying attention to your body's frame and your joints and your posture. Chiropractic care can help with that. And so make sure that you're going to the chiropractor and you're getting your frame attended to all the time. If you're getting enough exercise, if you're getting at least 3 hours a week of vigorous exercise to the point where you're sweating a lot and you're getting a good workout in. And if you do those very fundamental things, you should be in a much better place. I'm not saying you're perfect, but you should be in a better place than you were before.
Yeah. It always goes back to the basics, man, right? If you want to master anything, you got to master those fundamentals for sure.
Correct, yes.
Because we want to go to the fancy things first, but really, if you don't have the basics down, it's not really going to make a difference. That's what I see.
Well, I think that what happens is that people ignore that. They ignore those basic things, and then they rely on pharmaceuticals to clean up the mess afterwards. But I think that health is an inside job, and you have to pay attention to the little things that go into collectively your overall health profile. If you pay attention to your nutrition, your hydration, your sleep, your framework, your stress. Oh, I forgot stress management. Yeah, making sure that you are offloading stress, either do it through meditation or guided imagery or journaling or doing something to get it out. I just had a discussion this morning with a patient. I said, you may want to try getting a loose leaf notebook, like a $1.50 notebook at the dollar store, and writing out everything on your mind. If you think about it, write it down. Just do a complete mind dump on paper, and you'll be amazed at how much better that you feel after you're done.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as you mentioned, it's like getting these small things, like all these small habits, they really lead up to the bigger picture, right? And health is a process as well. Like it's a process of becoming, and we put these things together. That's when real health takes place. We have foundational habits that last a lifetime and lead to long-term sustainable wellness.
You hit the nail right on the head. Good habits build good health, and bad habits build bad health. And your listeners need to figure out can they do to improve good habits. Nothing too stressful, nothing too strenuous. No, nothing that's going to take a ton of time, but just little things that you can do every day. Maybe turn off Facebook. Maybe turn off the TV. Maybe go for a walk outside with your dog. And little things like that, it's going to make a big difference in your life.
Definitely. And are there any misconceptions at all when it comes to adrenal dysfunction?
I think that most people aren't even aware that it's going on. I think that what's going on is that it's slowly being taken away from them. Overconsumption of caffeinated beverages, taking on too much stuff at once. I don't really believe that there's any such a thing as multitasking. Really, what's going on is your brain can only focus on one thing at a time. So why don't we do that? Why don't we just focus on one thing at a time, get it done to our satisfaction, then move on to something else, as opposed to taking on 12 things at one time and doing each one half-baked.
100%. When it comes to building habits, are there some common barriers that you see with people or patients that are holding them back from creating positive habits? Is it lifestyle? Is it, things from the past? Like, what is your take on that?
I think that your habits can be formulated by your lifestyle. It can be formulated by your family and your environment. I think that everybody has the potential of improving what's going on. So I think that really what the important thing is not to do too much too soon, but just to do like a 1 or 2% improvement all the time. Maybe working on your sleep, maybe working on your fitness, go to the gym more, maybe working on your hydration, maybe working on improving your intake of macronutrients. Now, when it comes to nutrition, there's no one size fits all. So if you are a diabetic, you may need a ketogenic diet or a carnivore diet, and you want to investigate what's involved with that. And then if you don't have diabetes, maybe you're better off on a Mediterranean diet, or you're better off on an autoimmune paleo diet. So take a little bit of time and research it and find out which is the best fit for you, and make a conscientious effort, I should say, not to rely on convenience foods so much. Focus on real foods in your diet.
Yeah. It's so much about progress, not perfection, right? We want it to be perfect. And it's really about these small steps that we make every single day. And, staying the course, right? Staying focused on our goals, right? And understanding that obstacles are going to come up, but it's how we handle them that is going to basically dictate our response and how we reach our goals or not, right?
100%.
Yeah. And you're also big on health insurance. We talked about this a little bit. And you also mentioned, like, a lot of times decisions that are being made in our health are actually being made outside of the room. It's like people who haven't even met us.
So when it comes to a catastrophic illness, such as a heart attack or a stroke or a gunshot wound, a burn, a laceration, or something that you need to be in the ICU, insurance can come in handy. However, when it comes to the little things, the things that add up to tell me if you are at risk of having a chronic illness, that's not always the most appropriate measure. So insurance really was designed for catastrophic problems. It was not designed for health and wellness. You're responsible for your health. I'm responsible for my health. Just like if you in a house and you have a leak in your roof, and you're going to need to bring in a roofer and invest in a new roof. Yeah, I know that's not very pleasant to deal with, but it has to be done. The same thing if your car, if your transmission starts to slip or your engine doesn't work right, you're going to have to invest in getting that corrected. The same thing with your health. And the health, in my opinion, is the most important thing in the entire world. It's more important than money. It's more important than your job or your possessions or even your family, because if you're dead, you can't enjoy anything. So you got to make sure that you're at your very best and you're functioning at your very best, even if it requires a financial investment.
Health is wealth, man.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
And when it comes to basically the chronic diseases, those are the things that most people are dealing with, right? It's not these emergencies, which of course, the medical system is great for that. But the majority of people aren't dealing with that as much as they are these chronic, low-grade illnesses that are just, feeling us in a suboptimal state every single day.
So I believe that there's a time and a place for all healing. There's a time and a place for medicine. There's a time and a place for surgery. There's a time and a place for chiropractic care or physical therapy or acupuncture or whatever. So I'm not anti-medicine and I'm not anti-physician. I believe that acute problems, if it's treated by a physician that's trained in the United States, they're some of the best people in the entire world at fixing an acute problem or a problem that requires a heroic measure to save a life. However, when it comes to managing chronic problems or problems that have been ongoing for a long period of time, medical doctors do not have a good track record. So when it comes to high blood pressure or thyroid problems or autoimmune issues or diabetes or anything, they don't have a good track record. Now, we as Americans, we spend $4.3 trillion a year on our health care. That's more than the next 20 countries combined. Of that $4.3 trillion, 90 cents of every dollar that's invested in healthcare is spent treating chronic problems, not acute problems. So the vast majority of the problems out there are chronic issues, and the medical doctors don't have a good track record. So if you think that you're gonna fix this problem by taking this drug, I got news for you, it's not. I can only really think of one disease and one disease only that the medical doctors can fix, and that is a bacterial infection that's being cleared out through the use of antibiotics. Other than that, they don't fix anything. They manage problems, but the problems don't go away. So for an example, if you have high blood pressure and you stop taking your blood pressure pills for even a week, guess what's going to happen? It's going to go back up. So they have not fixed the problem. The same thing if you have diabetes. The same thing if you have autoimmune disease. The same thing if you have thyroid dysfunction. They manage the problem. They don't cure the problem. So you gotta think outside the box and be willing to do what it takes to help yourself beyond the pharmaceuticals.
100%. All right, Dr. Smith, this has been awesome, man. I really appreciate you so much again for coming on the show today, sharing your story with us, and all your insights on holistic wellness. There's so many different things, and everything is an option, right? But once we get educated on these things, then we really take control of our health and wellness. That's what it's all about, man. So I appreciate you so much.
Thank you for having me. I do want to say, if for your listeners, if you have a medical problem that you're not happy with how things are going with it, you can reach out to me, or you can learn more about me or my approach to this by visiting me on my website at metabolicsolutions.net. And when you go there, I have a free health quiz. It takes about 2 minutes to do. It's completely free, and it'll show you what would be the best steps moving forward for your particular problem. Whether it's just to research it or get some more information or reach out to me personally if you have a question, you can do that, and we can hop on a phone call or do a Zoom call or whatever if you have a problem. So just visit metabolicsolutions.net. You can take my health quiz. It's 2 minutes to change your life.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.